Well, my name is Ginger Smith, and I am the Director of Prevention and Intervention Services here at Catholic Community Services. I've been here for about 12 years. I enjoy being a mother and a G-mom. My children are my inspiration. They inspire me, and a lot of what I've done in terms of my life work has been motivated by them because I want to set a good example for them. 3 biological, and then my bonus baby. I never really differentiate anymore, but I do share our journey with folks just to inspire them because I feel like we're ambassadors to encourage people to become adoptive, foster and adoptive parents. We like to travel, and my children are very artistic, so we do a lot of projects and things of that nature together. We like the beach. We like to cook together, and they like dining out all the time. My kids like fancy, snancy stuff. They want seafood dinners rather than, basic tenders and fries. I've been here for almost 12 years come January. My initial position was resource home coordinator. And in that role, I was responsible for coordinating or identifying resource parents and then connecting them with our partners to get certified and be able to open up their homes to accept children. I was very passionate about that position because I had actually lived it. So in 2008, I was working as the Wednesday's Child Coordinator for the National Adoption Center. And I was responsible for the segment that aired on Wednesday evenings with Vi Sakahima from Channel 10. And we traveled throughout the tri-state area, Philly, Jersey, and Delaware, to highlight young people that were in the system, waiting and looking to find their forever family. That work was very impactful, and it weighed on my heart a lot because I came in contact with a lot of young people that, I wanted to literally take home with me. I had one child at the time, my son, who was 12 years old, and I had tried to have other children, but I was unsuccessful. I did have some health challenges, and I was doing this work with the National Adoption Center. So one day, God laid on my heart to become a foster parent. I went out on FMLA to have some surgery, and while I was recuperating at home, I contacted Bethany Christian Services, and I signed up for a training. The agency had recently gone through amending their training, I guess kind of condensing it to make it more friendly for potential foster parents to get through the process. I believe it was like an eight-week course, and they did a condensed version for like a weekend or a whole day training. Obviously, you don't learn everything in that amount of time, but again, this was in an effort to get people through the process because there are a lot of youth and children waiting. So I completed the training, had a home study, got the nursery ready. I was very specific in what I was looking for, what I was open to. I said that I wanted a baby and I wanted a girl. And I had someone from my church group to, help me put the nursery together. And that was in January of 2008. So you have February, and then March, I returned to work. And I'm back to work, and I'm busy, and I got a call on a Monday morning, and it was the agency saying that they had a newborn baby girl, and they needed to find her home by the end of the week. Well, needless to say, I was really excited. I was nervous, but I had stepped out on faith, and I said, well, if she needs a home, I'm willing to take her. I had no information about my daughter at the time, but I was willing to meet the challenge. And so that Thursday morning, initially I was going to go by myself, and at the last minute I asked my mother to accompany me because she was excited as well. So we went and we met with the staff, and there was a previous foster parent that had cared for my daughter in the first few weeks of her life. And at the time that I picked her up, she was 4 weeks old. So she was really still a newborn. And When I first saw her, I was just overwhelmed. My heart was really full. I looked at this little baby and I'm like, wow, she's coming home with me. And I was in love at first sight and just committed to doing everything I could to take good care of her. It's so funny. She had a head full of hair. And so once, we wrapped up at the agency, one of the first stops we made was to Rite Aid to get some hair products because I was planning to style her hair and, just give it a nice look. And my mother and I chuckled about that. The second day, I returned back to the agency, and that's when I had an opportunity to meet her parents. And that is called an icebreaker meeting, something that our agency here implemented some years ago. And the icebreaker meeting is really an opportunity to give both sets of parents the chance to meet, and for the birth parents to be able to share information that can be useful to the foster parents so that they can take care of them really well. So for my daughter's parents, one of the requests was to introduce her to music and also to take her to church. And I was committed to doing both of those things. And I guess you might call it vain. I asked them if it was okay to pierce her ears after she had gotten her immunizations, and they were fine with that as well. So for the initial phase of our journey, I was fostering, and the intention was to have, her return to her parents. But after some evaluations and parenting class, which they did not do too well in, the decision was made that their rights were going to be terminated, and that was a very challenging time. I was glad to have her, but I felt the grief that the parents felt. So it was like a lot of mixed emotions. And one thing I did to counter that is once the rights were terminated, I committed myself to making mini photo albums because the parents would still sometimes show up to the agency. So by doing that, I was trying to just reassure them that even though she was no longer in their care, that she was being well cared for, and they could see that she was growing nicely. And I probably did that for at least the first 6 months of her life. So just little mini photo albums, and again, pictures that they could see and they could, take with them. In the beginning of the process, I mentioned that if it was a good match, I would be open to adoption. And so we ran with that. Once the parental rights were terminated, they fast-tracked us straight to adoption. So by the time she was 2 years of age, everything was official. It was a joyous day. That was one of really the best days of my life, one of the proudest moments of my life, to have that finalized. So my daughter's name is Sabrina, but I often call her Bree. And she's now, that 4-week-old baby is now 17, going into her senior year of high school. She is evolved into a really beautiful young lady, kind-hearted, very helpful, compassionate, very shy and reserved, but she is starting to come out of her shell more. For many years, she was in dance school, and that was really a great opportunity for her to connect to something that she was passionate about. We traveled for some dance competitions and things of that nature, and she's a beautiful dancer. My daughter, Bree, has just been a blessing to me. At the time, like I said, in 2008, that she came into my life, that year, I experienced quite a few traumas, including losing my maternal grandmother and my boyfriend. My grandmother passed in November, and then the very next month in December, my boyfriend was murdered here in Philadelphia. And that was a really traumatic time for me. I was really depressed. I was working at the time, and Bree was the thing that kept me going. I really didn't want to get out of bed, but I had stepped up to be a resource for her, and so she was depending on me. So she really motivated me and pushed me through a really dark time in my life. So when she came into my family, of course, everyone was excited and said, she was the luckiest little girl to get a mother like myself. But I often told people I felt that it was really the other way around, that I was so blessed to get this beautiful baby, to just inspire me, to give me something to focus on, and for me to, try to do my best to give her a good life. My family's always welcomed her. She's always known that she was wanted. And I did share her life story with her when she was about 8 years old. And after years of putting it off and feeling anxious about how she was going to respond, I never wanted her to hear her life story from anyone else other than myself. So I remember the day that I decided to tell her story. I picked her up from school, and I left my younger 2 children at daycare, and we went home and we got into bed, and I had a photo album that I had kept for her pretty much since she came into my life. Actually, the talk went well. It went better than I had expected. There were really no adverse reactions or behaviors. Being in the field for over 20 something years, I have heard of stories where when young people are finally told their story, that they have a lot of different emotions, a range of emotions. So when I shared her story, my daughter's story with her, I let her know that no matter what she felt, it was okay. She could be sad, she could be angry, she could have questions, and I would try to give her as much information as I could about her family and her parents. So ironically, when Bree turned 4 years old, I was able to have more children. I had a child at 40 and then again at 42, and that gives me my total of 4 children. There's never been any differentiation, so my children have always looked to Sabrina as their sister. Eventually, when my children were old enough to understand, I did explain how she came to be our family, and that's something that they were very proud of, and but they didn't look at her any different. And I'm so grateful that all my children love each other tremendously, and they get along well, other than typical sibling rivalry at times. But I think my children are proud of how she came into our family, and we're all advocates again for just supporting and encouraging other people to follow a same path, to give a young person that's waiting in care an opportunity, to grow, to flourish, to be in a nurturing environment, and have family that loves on them and helps to build them up. Loving and embracing and accepting someone else's child is the ultimate demonstration of unconditional love, really. Even when I was fostering, I was fully committed to doing the best on her behalf. I didn't have a crystal ball to know that she was going to stay with me forever. It just happened to work out that way. But she could have very well been returned to her parents if they were able to care for her. So regardless of what the outcome was, I never wavered in my commitment to just love on her and try to give her the best. And I had this bracelet that she gave me, which is always something that gets me choked up. She gave this to me a couple years ago, and it has an inscription inside. On the outside it says Mom, but on the inside it says, "Everything I am, you have helped me to be." And that was very touching when she gave that to me. She paid for it with her own money, and it's just a reminder of the impact that obviously she's felt I've had in her life. You just have to be willing to be in it for the long haul. There's lots of parents that give their 30-day notice at the first sign of struggle or challenge with children, and all that does is perpetuate the ongoing trauma of feeling discarded and unwanted. And so you really have to find a village of support, resources to help you if you feel like you're struggling, And that's kind of like what our team does here in terms of supporting our resource parents. We actually celebrate our resource parents a couple times throughout the year just to acknowledge them, because we know that it's hard work, especially again when you have older children that have lingered in the system and have been so transient, moving around from placement to placement. But I want parents, prospective parents, just to know that your commitment can really make the difference in a young person's life. We know that the statistics are high for young people that exit the system without having the benefit of stability, love, and nurturance. You know, they're more prone to homelessness, mental health issues, drug abuse, just really struggling in life. And so we have the opportunity to counter that and eradicate that by pouring into a young person that really, you know, needs someone to just care and not give up on them. So I'm proud that I stayed the course. And just because she's turning 18 next year doesn't mean that it's over. We're just entering a new phase.
When I got into the adoption, I was 10 years old. My mother was doing drugs really heavily, very abusive, and I got to the point that I was tired of being abused. So I ran to the closest friend that we had that was in our neighborhood, and at the time she was the most sweetest person ever to take me in. So to hear from her perspective, it was God's calling for her to start doing the work that He already had done in her. So being in that part of their family, of being a young a black child, being integrated into a Asian American woman and a Irish American man, and me just being almost like the sore thumb in the midst of all of that, that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but my mom made it feel welcoming in many ways. I had some worse times in that, because I felt that my birth mother didn't want me, so she didn't come looking for me. So over the years, my foster mom just told me just to be strong, because eventually she will come back and we can have that conversation that needed to be really to be had. Yeah. It's a lot to, like, it was a lot that I had to go through, being in the foster care, even in those times in the mid 80s, early 90s, was still pretty much segregated. That around that time you started to have interracial relationships, but far as foster care, it was shamed upon. But what made me more encouraged was my cousin Andrew. He was also adopted by my Aunt Sue. They were Irish American mom and a Brazilian dad, and this black kid that fit in just like it was the last piece of their puzzle. So I was really encouraged with that, because I felt as though that I wasn't the only one.
Did you ever get to have that conversation with your mom?
Yeah, I eventually got to have that conversation with my mom when I turned 21. She called me at work. I didn't know, Lord knows how she got my job number or where I worked. She called me up, invited me over, and the conversation just went left a little bit because she didn't answer the questions that I was looking for to be answered. And it was just, I think it was just a big failure of me really trying to have that conversation with her because a part of me wanted to hear why that she abused me, why that she just gave me up so easily, and why she didn't come looking for me. And those questions were never answered to me. So over the years, I had to go through life with these questions still in my mind that were never answered. But eventually, over, I think when I turned in my mid 30s, early 40s, then those questions really got answered to the point that that I was like I looked like my dad, the usual stuff. So it just really didn't really sit with me right. But up until last year, my mom really sat down and really explained why she gave me up, and she wasn't in her right frame of mind. And part of that, of her being not being in her right frame of mind, she was on drugs heavily. So that played a real big part on her as a parent. But I accepted that because I think that was the real most part that destroyed our relationship was her addiction. I had a bittersweet moment when I first moved in. My mom tells me the story all the time and I break down with it. She was giving me a bath and I was so dirty and dingy that it just made the whole tub water just really black. And to see the expression on my mom's face that she had tears coming out them, like, I didn't understand it right then and there. So over the years, I asked my mom what was in that moment, what happened. After we came back from the hospital of getting checked up and everything, and I asked her, can she be my mom now? And my mom just gave this big smile from ear to ear, like, yeah, I'll be your mom now. And that I was safe. I didn't have to worry about no one trying to hurt me ever again. From then on, I knew I was safe. Did I get into trouble? Yeah, I did. But I knew that my mom had my back every step of the way. I got to have a bond with my little brother who was 19 months at the time. So to enjoy that, to have a brother to look after was my joyous part of being a part of a family. The day of my graduation, after I got my diploma, took my cap and gown off, my mom said to me, when we get home, you don't have to go anywhere. I said, what did you mean? She said that we're grounded for the rest of our lives, as from hip to hip. My aunt saw me one day when they first started to foster me. And she came and saw me playing outside. And she said, she just started yelling at me, where have you been? Everybody's looking for you. Like, what's going on with you? Where are you at? So my foster mom came out and told her that I've been with them for the last 5 to 7 weeks. And she took me to my godmother's house. And I was sitting there at their dining room table. I was just so scared. that everything that God gave me at that moment was about to crash. I cried that whole time. And I asked God right then and there, I said, please don't take me away from there. Because I was safe. That nobody wasn't abusing me. That I was able to eat and sleep in a bed that was my own, not sleeping on the floor in a kitchen. I wanted to be there. So after about 2 or 3 hours of me, just felt so much like eternity. My aunt came back to me and sat right across from me and asked me, where do you want to be? She said, I can take you home, or I can take you back to where you were. I said, I want to go back. She said, why? I told her, because I didn't want to be abused anymore. I said, I have people there that love me. And she said to me, they're not your family. I said, but they love me like that. I'm their family. And she said, okay, fine, I'm going to take you back. So as we were walking back to the house, and this echoes to me all the time, she said, if you ever see your mom, tell her that you never saw me. And I never seen you. And on the way back, I just couldn't stop crying not because that I was being taken away, but what I had for those 5 weeks was just going to go. That in that time, I had so much peace. I never felt the warmth of a hug or the warmth of just a kiss on your forehead to say goodnight. Or just the love and empathy that my mom showed me within those 5 weeks of something that I've longed for all my life. And it was there within that woman. This 4'2" Asian woman that had a smile that can just light you up, but she had the black woman's glare if you did something wrong. Like, yeah, I see you over there, and that was it. And I thought all of that was just going to come to an end. So that was a real bittersweet moment for me in my life, that without her, I think I would never be here. I wouldn't be at Catholic Community Services. I wouldn't be a husband or a dad. I would probably have been 6 foot under somewhere.
Hi, my name is Roberta Castillo Hernandez, and I'm going to be an adopted parent.
Okay, Roberta, can you tell us a little bit of your background and how you ended up in the U.S.?
Yes, of course. I am originally from Mexico, but my parents brought me here when I was 12 years old. I'm going to be honest with you, it was a rough time because I was a single mom for 6 years. So it was a little tough, being a single mom, having 2 kids. It was hard, but thank God, work hard and, just believe in God that everything was going to get better. Okay, I heard through my son, Jesus, that's how I heard what he was actually going through with Aiden. He kind of mentioned that he was having a hard time with his family, and that's how I explained exactly what was going on with him, because I didn't know that he was living with his grandma. I know Aiden for more than 3 years already because he's my son's best friend, and he usually spend a lot of time here with him, hanging around. And I get more interest because of the fact that he was kind of like sad sometimes, a little, since he was a little depressed. So it came to my attention that I seen him like sad. So I asked him what was going on. So I was like, and then he started talking little by little. And it didn't happen right away. It took a little time because later on I find out the real situation, what was going on with him. So I decided to, just kind of talk with him, like, kind of support him, asking, that's what I did. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little hard because of the fact this, like you say, is a new thing for me. I didn't know it's gonna take a lot of process, and it's gonna be, and I am talking with a lot of different people, like, and it's hard. But I've been learning a lot, and I get like really excited and a little sad too, because what they've been telling me, what all these kids go through, I didn't know. I mean, I've been hearing things, I heard things through social media and news, but I never experienced this. And I didn't know nothing about that, being an adoptive parent or anything like that. But, that's how I started. He actually kind of tell me about the agency. And since from there, I started talking with Miss Torres. The hard part is because you have to be filling a lot of paperwork, talking with different people. People's coming over your place. They have to check every single space of your house, make sure your house it's secure, you have the proper fire alarms, everything. So it became a little hard for me because, like I said, it's something new for me. So, but I mean, we're working on it. So.
Was this something you ever thought you would do?
No, to be honest with you, never crossed to my head. But I'm gonna tell you something. I did have a dream a couple years ago, and God, His witnesses of that. And I even tell my parents, because when I tell them, I was like, I had a dream that it was a kid asking me to help him, to adopt him because he was lonely. And it came to my head. That was a couple years ago. I'm telling you, but probably 9 years ago, 10 years ago. So I remember that. Even my mother tell me, do you remember what you tell me about your dream? I was like, yes. So I said, God, has purpose. Look what's happening. Never crossed my head. Never until now. Well, Aiden is a great kid. Believe me, he's really sweet. I did talk to him about the house rules. He's been following all the rules. I don't have no problem with him. I mean, and he's already 14 years old, so it's more easy. Not really, because he's becoming into a teenage age, but he's been doing great. I can see the difference now because I feel like he feels more secure. Like he feels like he's part of the family already, because I treat him the same way I treat my kids. No difference. I feel, great, happy, because I see that he's getting along with everyone. I feel like he's free now. Like he lives on his own house. Like he does what he wants. That's how I see him.
What do you hope for Aiden's future?
My God, I know he wants to be a professional basketball player. And as you see Aiden, he's really tall. So I know, and I always tell her, I know you're gonna do it. I know, I have faith in you, and I know you can. You're gonna achieve your dreams. So I do believe, he's gonna make it.
What do you think Aiden needs from you and your family the most as he continues to grow?
I think support, knowing that someone is going to be there for him, that he can count with us for anything.
Yeah.
It could change your life, I mean, for you and the kid that you're going to help, it makes me, for my experience, it makes me feel great that I'm going to help someone, I don't know, it makes me feel grateful, happy about it, to be able to, provide a family for someone.
Yeah. Yeah, you
I
didn't
was
lie.
so nervous.
Me too.
It's okay. So you see my kid right here? He's really tall. I feel this magic.
Don't stand next to me, please. I'm gonna feel very short.
Right now?
Yep, introduce who you are and then your age.
I'm Aiden. I'm 14, about to be 15 years old. And I'm going into 10th grade. I was kind of just in the house a lot of the time because prior to meeting Jesus, I was in virtual school. And I actually met him while I was first going to real school for the first year. So, but prior to that, it was really just me staying in the house most of the time, just doing my work, not really going out and doing things. Just, I had a lot of family issues, a lot of people passing, and just that kind of threw off what would be like a normal life, some would say. But I just always had really issues with my family. The first part, going from my grandma to a foster home, it was just a bit like, because I thought I was going back before I was going to actually permanently be at a foster home. And then, I mean, I didn't really feel like it was too much troubling for me. I felt like, I mean, if I am somewhere, I should make the most of it and not be upset about it or anything. So, I mean, every time I moved, it was really just something that happened.
So what was it? So how did that question even come up about you first not even being adopted, but the idea of you even living here?
It was, I mean, it was really just first about me being adopted in the first place, I think, because, I mean, it wasn't really I see why they would want to adopt me, because it's it's not good to always be moving around for an entire childhood, which is what might have happened if they didn't try to step up and adopt me. But it really just came up by them just asking me one day after I was coming over when I first came back to Philly. For me, I think it was a lot easier than especially all of my other homes, and that's only really because they already kind of treated me like a son before I even lived here, and I knew all the rules, and I mean, I've never had an issue with following rules in a place, so I think the transition was really smooth, just if you just try to bond with them. Even a few months into being friends with Jesus, they, I mean, always treated me so well. Everyone who's ever lived in this house, and his family who lives really nearby, they've always treated me like I was family, just always kind to me and welcoming. I think I've been able to grow just because I actually live in a stable situation now where I know I'm always going to be here, so I can always work on the stuff that I enjoy to do, like playing basketball or just skating with some friends nearby.
Obviously, customs and all that stuff are a little different.
Thank God he likes my food. Oh, as far as I know, he does.
Yeah, I do. I love it.
He does. He does. He eats spicy food, which is kind of
Actually, my dad's side is Puerto Rican, and that's, yeah, so I'm a little bit Puerto Rican as well, but my dad's a little bit. My dad's side of the family is just, it's all mixed. I've experienced a lot of cultures. I think really integrating with a Hispanic family, it hasn't really been any different than how my family normally was. And I've always been like moving around and everything, it's just like people are people. I don't really think the cultural thing makes a difference other than just like what is part of their culture. But I mean, you can bond with everyone.
So after having 4 biological children, what made you all of a sudden decide that you thought fostering children from the system would be fun?
Yeah, so we came across a website from the state of Pennsylvania. And there was a sibling set of 3, and they were separated into 3 different homes. And one of them had a disability, and
Just the 3 girls?
2 girls and a boy.
Right, okay.
And we were like, there's no way that we can allow these 3 kids to grow up in 3 different homes. If that was our kids, no way I would want that to happen. So that being said, I would prefer to like keep them together. So we went in looking to see how to keep siblings together.
So did you bring those 3 in at the time, or no?
No, they ended up being adopted separately.
That's when we kind of learned a little bit
That's
about
when
what
we
you
started
do.
the process
Yeah.
and learning more about it. I brought it to Jeff's attention, and he was like, of course, then we started scrolling through all the pictures of everyone online. So that's when we ended up getting in touch with Concern, who at the time was right around the corner from us. So.
And you have been certified with the Concern Agency then for how many years?
6?
8 years
8?
now.
8 years?
Yeah.
Wow. Because when I came into your lives, I remember that phone call because I had this precious little baby in a hospital that was there. She was born in November 6th of 2020, and she was ready to be discharged not until March of 21.
Yeah.
And I remember I was fresh on this case, and this little baby had a feeding tube, and she had a lot of medical conditions, one being cardiomyopathy, and the sensitivity to all of her medical conditions and knowing that she has to be put into a foster home would scare many, mostly. And I remember I had two homes. I had one home, I forget, it was far away. And then I had your home, and I was worried about where she was going to go. And also at the same time of knowing that little Ella, now Ella, knowing that her biological parents would end up losing their rights due to things that were just very clear in their intellectual disabilities, and the sensitivity to her care. So I'm on the phone with you, and I just was like, look, the parents don't understand why they're losing their child. They thought that she was going to bring her home. They're going to want to be involved, and I just need to know, because this is going to be the long haul here. But I need to know that you will allow the communication with the parents.
Once I got your phone call and we talked, like, we had this understanding prior that, of course, like, we wanted to keep parents involved in the sense that keep them updated in whatever sense that they're capable of being involved. Because it's where the children come from. It's still a piece of them. Not always is it safe to keep them involved, but to the best of the abilities that we can, keep them involved. In the sense, post-adoption, meaning whether it just be pictures or just a little blurb of an update. Something like that. In the sense that if these kids ever wonder later where they're from, or where did they get their looks from or whatever. We'd love to be able to answer those things.
Ella was still in the NICU, and there is training involved in knowing how to care for her, which maybe describe what that was like, because you immediately made arrangements, you and Jeff, and you went down
That night.
and you went immediately. Tell me what that was like.
So we kind of already knew G-tube things from previously having Alex. So already having NG-tube and G-tube training.
And that's the
dealing with
feeding
it-
tube.
Yep,
Right.
dealing with it every day. We have experience in autism and all different other, disabilities that come along with other circumstances that these kids have faced. So we have already faced those things, but going in with her was a bit different because there was a lot of unknowns with her. So I know, like, when we first went in, first of all, fell in love with the little girl. Like, goodness sakes, so tiny. She looked like a porcelain doll. The curls on her head, oh my goodness, like, she was just like, yeah, she just literally just like fit. And it was like, she was just so tiny and just beautiful. But you could tell that there were definitely things that they didn't know, and leaving us with a lot of like unanswered questions, and us to like, well, how can we best suit her? How can we best get the answers that we need to provide for her the best that we can? And that's when we knew that there was going to be a list of specialists that she was going to need to see, and therapies and whatever. So we knew immediately that we were going to get started on all of that.
Of course you are a trained medical treatment foster home, but these things you didn't learn from your certification process. So what was the biggest challenge in learning how to deal with these special needs, and what are they?
So like a medical treatment foster home is a lot of words. People keep calling it that, but it's more like, when you got to feed your kids, you learn how to make them food. When you have to do other things for them, you learn how to do that. So you just do it. So I don't really see us as like some medical home. We just have kids, and some of them have more needs than others. Ella was in the beginning, especially. She was easy. She was my little cuddle bug. She just hung out, watched the game.
She was a daddy's girl, though. Come on.
Was?
She was.
What do you mean was?
She's more mommy's girl now, like ish. Like daddy's still favorite, but
Who does she bite?
everybody.
Except?
She's gotten you.
Okay. 1% of the time.
But when she was sick this weekend, who'd she choose?
Oh, she does. Well, everybody goes to her when they're sick.
But that's how it is, right? You look for a mom's comfort and things
Yeah.
like that. But I think right off the bat, I think Jeff and her bonded immediately.
She was such a
Not
buddy.
that I didn't bond with her, but she had a very special bond with Jeff. Like, they definitely bonded right off the bat.
Yeah.
So
There's
Yeah.
something to be said about that too, and it's all different with the different kids. But like the bonds, so all my kids are my kids, and you bond with them differently. Now I think dads will understand this more than that. You don't bond the same way as women do. They start to form their bond while the baby's like in the womb, and then dads are like, oh wow, there's a baby, and then that kind of starts to form. Foster kids is more like that, right? And different kids, you have different bonds, and some are fast, some are slow. I guess that's kind of like biologists too. But like, she had a bond with Alex right away, and it was strong. And him and I, it took us a while, because I was just that guy that's sometimes around when mom is here, right? And it was the same with Ella. So for a little while, it was all right. I had Ella and she had Alex, and we would trade, but it wasn't the same. But the bonds are all different. We both bonded to like Logan, like that, like at like 3 seconds. He was the cutest kid. But and then me and Ella at the hospital. She'd come home with me that night, and they wouldn't let me. And then she started crying, and the nurses would not go in there fast enough, and both of us are heated. We're over there like, excuse me,
there
she's
should be
crying.
somebody in with her.
She's upset right now.
But I think
That had to be so like exciting, like when you got to hold her and meet her. And how long was it then when she was discharged? Like a couple days,
only
right?
a couple days, yeah. But we were down there every day.
Yeah.
And I remember because I came right up to see her here, and that was the first time I came here. And it was a lot of kids.
Yeah, everybody was here waiting
There was
for
a
her.
lot. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of kids. There's more people here now than then.
Yeah, but it was definitely an active home environment, you know.
But I think that's so when we went to the hospital, the nurses were telling us that she has lack of social interaction, meaning she wasn't making eye contact. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't doing certain things that maybe like a 4-month-old would typically be doing at that time. And I don't think we had that same experience with her because I
Nope.
feel like
I got a
she
smile first day.
almost instantly started to like when you held her and you brought her in and you like gave her that closeness and that babies crave that. Like they want to be snuggled and cuddled and they want to be like told things and talked to. And
Which is so disturbing too, because this is what by the time you got her, she was 5 months old, correct?
4.5.
4.5, going on 5 months old. So that entire time until you guys were there, she did not get that.
Yeah.
And so that could have been, you know, obviously it is a reason for some of those delays, that not necessarily was due to any kind of medical concerns. 5 foster children with your biological kids. What is that like, and what's that relationship with the kids? How was that? Were they reluctant in the beginning, or
Nope.
how?
Nope. They were on board from the day we talked about it, before we even did anything. They were jumped right on it. We've had my oldest son think about having foster to adopt kids rather than having his own. I don't know if that's reality, but it was nice of him to say. But they just meshed together.
And you're talking about Matt.
Yes.
Matt is the oldest, and his relationship with little Jenny
Oh my.
has been, now I know you have your bond with Ella, of course,
Yeah,
but I don't know if
Matt
there's
and Jen, like
and-
when he comes home and visits, oh my goodness, when she sees him, Matt, and goes running towards him, like they
they have
Well,
it special.
Surprisingly, they all love him. I mean,
They do.
Like Logan will come running in to see him too, and then even Ella will do her clap. Come here,
when she is.
come here.
But they definitely, like they all have, and I was just talking about this earlier, in how when we've had significant changes happen with some kids going either to kinship or be reunified, each time, and it's heartbreaking,
That
and
was hard.
it's devastating, and like, you know, you go through all the emotions of loss, but like happiness all at the same time. Maybe a little less happiness,
Yeah.
but
Let's be real.
you feel that loss, you feel those things, and we talk to kids every single time, and some of our kids are delayed in cognition is maybe a little lower, but in one of the children of our bio children, but every one of them without a doubt said, no, we want to keep going, and they wanted to keep, like, because we said, like, do you want to stop this? Do we take a break? And they were like, no, we want to help more kids.
After Jenny,
That's incredible.
After Jenny, they're talking about we want a baby, and I'm like, I'm almost 50. Chill.
We
We're
did
gonna have
ask them to
grandkids
take a
soon.
break.
Yeah.
We asked them to take a break.
Like what is something that you've gotten over the years that you didn't have before?
So growing up, I wasn't exposed to people with special needs very much. You know, my generation was very different. They weren't integrated into the schools the same way. They had rooms off in the corner of the school, and that's where they were until they took a different bus home than typical children did. And that was it. There was a clear separation. And so to my generation, people with special needs were just, you know, they were different. They were over there and they were separated. And so I've never interacted or worked with any special needs children to this level. We've kind of eased into it with our bio kids, and then with Lucas and stuff that we've led up into autism and the nonverbal and stuff like that. But well, Ella too, but Alex especially, they have their own mind, and at first you think it's different, but it's not just different. Like you see the way he sees the world sometimes, and it's beautiful the way he sees it. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes he's really angry, but they have their own ways to communicate, and you end up kind of figuring it out, and that's a whole new thing too. And it's kind of cool, like when you and your spouse have your own not secret language, but inside jokes. Like after 24 years, we have a lot of inside jokes, and I can say one thing and she'll giggle and everybody else won't know what the hell we're talking about. And you get that with Ella. Like she's got this hand clap thing and she's got this side eye, and to somebody that comes in, she's emotionless. But to us, we can see all these emotions with different ways she does things. The way she stomps her feet, the way she claps her hand, the way she looks at you. And
The milestones she's met that we didn't think she was going to meet.
we didn't even know she's going to walk.
Right.
The way it was
stomp
brought
around here.
into you guys is that this little girl, first off, with having the genetic disorder with the
CDK13.
13, and then, but especially because they made it seem like she will never be without a feeding tube. She will never be able to eat on her own. She will not be able to walk.
Can't get that girl to stop eating now. She will not stop
That's
eating.
that's
You're eating
amazing.
A cheeseburger. Like what? Like how? It's not even just like purees. Like
Look, she's probably yelling for food right now.
she eats cheeseburgers. She eats chicken nuggets. She eats.
That's
things
amazing.
That, like yes, okay, we have not progressed into harder chewing things, but
So she doesn't have it anymore?
she still has it but
overnight.
Overnights
Right,
only.
right.
So during the day, she is maintaining her calories to be able to do
And
that right
she's
now.
going to be turning 5.
Yeah.
So what's that like then? She going
We
to
have
kindergarten?
one more year until she goes to kindergarten.
Logan
Well,
goes to
you
school.
still got
I'm
Jenny.
not okay right now.
Jenny will be
Okay,
getting
physical.
thrown out of kindergarten. Let's
Yes,
be honest.
exactly.
The last one to go to school is Logan. He starts at the end of this week.
Next
No. I can't
That's
even
right.
imagine what that's
Next
going to
Monday.
be like for you guys.
all kids are in school.
It's sad.
It is so sad.
Yeah, it's hard
I
to let them
literally have
go.
been like,
So normally this is when
survive.
we would be on the foster kid catalog.
scroll.
Yeah.
I know.
But I think we're ready for grandkids now. I think we're done with, but not super ready. Like nobody needs to jump out and get pregnant right now. But I think we're ready for that kind of rent to rent system where they just go back.
Give me something like if you were to just describe Ella and Jenny. I mean, you could describe, of course, Lucas, Alex, and Logan too, because obviously that's 5 foster children. Of course, I already know you. It'd be ridiculous to say you'd do it all over again. I already know you would do it 1,000 times over again. But yeah,
Start over, sure. Do it again on top? No, it's a lot. 9 plus 9, 18 kids.
No, she's
That's why I said start over. Yeah, do it over again from the beginning. Sure.
no more. No more. See? See?
Describe it. I don't know. A lot of little experiences. It's like what I was talking about before with all the different firsts. You know, it's like that but multiplied. You know, the first time Alex walked was amazing. We didn't know if he would walk. We didn't know if Ella would walk. We knew Jenny was gonna walk. She tried to walk when she was born. We know she didn't. Sorry, she laid around and
She
did
laid
nothing for
around.
months,
Yeah.
and then we couldn't
I couldn't
keep her
stop
still.
her. But it's like all the unknowns, but then like all this like happiness too. Like all these like, oh my gosh, for the first time, you know, they can communicate. Maybe not verbally, but through a communication device or through sign language. They can complete a whole sentence through sign language. You know, like, or like Ella, for instance, if we say to her, like we're reading a book, Brown Bear, and she can tell you on her device what every single animal in the picture is. And it's like, she has so much in there, but just because she doesn't communicate like you and I right now, she still is very
she knows and she
intelligent.
absorbs. She can.
She understands so much more than people think she does.
So much more. And like Jen, like she's coming out with 2-3 word sentences that we could barely understand one word that she was saying just 2-3 months ago, and now she's saying 2-3 word sentences. And it's like, she gets it. It's just, there's a little bit of processing delay, but you give her that time and she is coming out with stuff like amazing. And then like, even with Alex, it's like he comes over like last night, he's like, Daddy, hi. And it's like the fact that he is even talking is huge with all the things that he has faced. Walking, just one day, he just got out of cast from his surgery, and he just, out of nowhere, just stood up and just started doing laps. And we were like, oh my God. He didn't know how to stop, but he was like, he just kept going. But it was like, absolutely
So
tears
it's like, it's fun to just like, you keep surprising yourself. It's
yeah.
like, now
I mean,
what
you
is
push
the,
them, but you don't always expect the results to come. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like you push them because you want them to get there, but then when it comes, you're like, holy cow, we got there.
so now with the Sheldons adopting the 5th and final, what are your plans once you get rid of everyone?
It's cliche, but we're going to Disney World.
We are going to Disney.
We went once. Everybody went, big drive, and it was a lot of fun. The younger ones don't remember it very much. I've got pictures of Logan and Jenny seeing Chip and Dale come up to their stroller, and they were a little bit freaked out. But yeah, we want to go back and have everybody kind of
So that's
remember
how
it.
the celebration, the last hurrah.
Not that we won't ever go back, but at least for them to remember it and like to kind of like finalize that.
I mean, you're giving a child a forever home. You're giving them stability. You're giving them something that they may not have ever been able to experience, right? Like, you're having kids that they have a safe place to sleep. They have someone to love them for who they are, and that's really what we strive for. We want them to have their forever home.
It's something great, you know, you had that feeling. It's awesome because, you know, thinking about these kids that they don't have a home and knowing that you're going to be able to provide a family for them. It's, I mean, you know, I will, you know, 100% say go ahead and do it. It feels great.
All the resource parents and adoptive parents out there, I want to just applaud you because, again, I know it's not easy work, but it is a ministry and you have to be fully committed and locked in to do it. But it is so rewarding when you see your children flourish and know that you had a hand in it and that you were able to save them from just trauma after trauma and not feeling wanted.
You know, the child welfare system as a whole, I mean, we just need to keep advocating. We need to make sure there's programs and resources. I think that's lacking. And we see that just basically within working with the family as a whole. There's wait lists, especially since the COVID happened, and we're seeing more issues with like our youth and their mental health, and they're not getting the resources that they need because of the amount of wait lists that there are.
Your heart's underneath it. Yeah, honestly, it's best to be true to who you are. All you need is air to breathe, to give it one more shot. Yeah, just close your eyes and let it all just wash away and give it time. You don't have to change a thing, soon you'll see that perfect is imaginary. You don't have the world to carry, hey, just be yourself.